Hey, it's me, MLB. Here's part 6 of Competitive Enjoy. I didn't get a proper start with that kiss before, Kagayama said with a grumpy, shy pout after you two had gazed at each other for a little bit. He blinked a few times and then looked away. Aw, he teased. Shut up. You jumped too early. I wasn't ready, he mumbled, still not wanting to look you in the eye yet. Okay, well, I'm ready now if you're ready, you replied, your heart beating wildly as his fingertips flinched into your side a bit. Returning his sharp gaze to you, he did a half sit-up, his face nearing yours. Although he was a little nervous to be actually kissing you, he didn't balk as he closed the gap, and his lips met yours. You melted into him, his firm hands on you with his lips pressed to yours. He wasn't forceful, and he wasn't shy, he was just the perfect amount of confidence, and you wrapped your arms around his neck and pressed into him. Although you two had technically only kissed twice, it just felt natural to move to the next step, and before you knew it, your lips had parted, and so had his. You questioned at that point whether or not he had had other girlfriends in the past, because he was a good kisser. It's like he just knew what to do. After experimenting for a little bit, you pulled back and gave him a little smile. Well, you definitely know what you're doing, you said to him, hands slipping from his neck to his shoulders. I want another one, he blurted out, and you chuckled as he leaned back in to kiss you again. The better half of the morning was spent kissing, talking, and enjoying each other's company. Then, when his stomach rumbled, you decided to go and get some food. Do you have a preference? He asked you as you walked hand in hand, side by side, down the grassy slope. I'm easy, you shrugged. Just take me to your usual place. Okay, he said, with a head nod, and pushed the last of the tree branches back as he entered the last part of the walk. Thankfully, you had timed it well, and a bus turned up within 3 minutes of waiting. So on you got, squished into the now full bus, and found a seat at the back again. This trip was a little more cramped than the last, and the trip was more bumpy too than you'd remembered in the morning. A few times your hand accidentally slipped into Kagayama's lap, which made you both a little flustered, and you had to mumble out multiple apologies. Kagayama's favourite place to eat was close to the bus route, so that walk from the next stop to the small shop wasn't too much of a drag, and you were glad for the timing because you were really starting to feel those hunger pangs now. Oh, I can already tell this place is going to be good, you thought as your nose caught the mouth-watering scent of ramen, soups and fried foods. This is the best place in the area, Kagayama said as he walked up to the shop and went to lift the black draped curtains to enter through the door. Everyone knows this place is number one, he added as he lifted the flap for you, and you stepped in ahead of him. As you entered, you heard some animated chatting from the customers at one of the tables there, and your eyes fell on 3 guys who were having a good chat. One with orange hair was holding onto a bouquet of flowers that looked familiar. Hinata! You heard Kagayama snap from behind you. Idiot, what are you doing here? The orange-haired guy looked up at that point and grinned brightly when he saw his teammate behind you. Oh, Kagayama! I got the flowers, just like you! Then he saw you standing in front of Kagayama and froze. Oh, one of the other teammates with long hair tied into a ponytail said as he jumped up and grabbed for the flowers, intending to hide them behind his back. Kagayama, the third said as he jumped up and blocked the view of the other 2 with his body. What are you all doing here? Kagayama snapped again. You just looked confused. Yin, I assume? The guy now in front of the other 2 greeted you, stepping forwards and extending his hand to you. A pleasure to meet you. Likewise, you said curiously, returning his handshake. Wait, you said suspiciously. Aren't you guys teammates of Kagayama? I think I recognize you from before. Yes, I'm the captain, Daichi, the guy who was shaking your hand said politely. I'm Asahi, the guy with the longer hair and goatee said from behind his captain. And I'm Hinata, the smaller orange-haired guy said with a jump and a wave, trying to be seen from behind the captain. I see, you said, piecing it all together, your eyes finding the flowers that had been hidden from view, supposedly, on an empty chair at their table. No one has answered my question. What are you doing here? Kagayama asked again gruffly. Well, I had to drop off, the orange-haired Hinata started to say before getting frantic signals from Asahi and stopping mid-sentence. He had a job to do this morning, Asahi finished, pointing at Hinata. And Daichi and I felt like ramen from here, and we all just happened to meet, and we're catching up, Daichi cut in at the end, all 3 of them smiling proudly that they had managed to come up with a cover story quickly. And the flowers? You asked, pointing to the flowers that you could see sitting on the chair. Asahi paled. Idiots. Kagayama pouted grouchily. Okay, I asked Hinata to put the flowers there this morning. And then he was supposed to leave, but he got the flowers here now. So it looks like he was eavesdropping, Kagayama snapped. But I wanted to make sure everything was okay, and it was amazing how she just said yes, and then whoosh it and jumped into your arms and bam, her face... Stop! Kagayama snapped with embarrassment, his face red hot. But at least I got the flowers for you, Hinata quickly added, grabbing them from the chair and then running hastily around Daichi to give them to you, which you took from him as he suddenly thrust them into your chest. Thanks, you said with surprise. Idiot. Give them to her nicely, Kagayama snapped. Kagayama, you chuckled, looking back at him. It's okay. Thank you, Hinata. And you two? Kagayama interrogated the other two, who had held up their hands in defence. We're telling the truth. We just bumped into Hinata here, they both said defensively. And what are you doing here? Hinata asked brightly, not reading the room, since Kagayama was still a little touchy about everyone being there. Hungry. Why else would we be here? Kagayama grumped. Okay, let's get some food now, you laughed. Grumpy Pants here needs something in his tummy or he'll be moody all afternoon. You know him well, Daichi chuckled. How about you join us? We were going to get some more food too. I don't mind, you said with a shrug. Kagayama was still a little pouty about it all. He wanted to be alone with you, but this was kind of okay too, since he could then introduce you to his friends. They were a nice bunch of guys, and you loved the dynamics between them all. Kagayama seemed to be the serious one of the group, while Hinata was just the golden retriever, Asahi was such a soft sweetheart, and Daichi was a dad, through and through. After eating with them, they left, leaving you and Kagayama to end the dining experience with just the two of you. Well, today has been different, but I've loved it, you said with a smile. Same, he replied, gazing into your eyes. It's just the beginning of us, so we can do this a lot more times. I'll hold you to that, he said with a smirk to him. Each date needs to be getting better and better. Of course, he snorted. Only the best for you. Oh, you teased him. Damn right, and don't you forget it. His smirk in reply told you that he didn't plan on ever forgetting it. And here's a little bonus. It was much later that Kagayama and you parted ways at the same train station that you had met that morning. The feeling, walking down those stairs, that you had walked up at 4:59 a.m. that same morning was very different. And you even took a moment to appreciate the ghost of your past self, wishing you could have been there somehow to tell your past self what awesome things were about to happen that day. You smiled and touched your kiss-swollen lips as you headed down to the platform, ready to go home. Kagayama smirked to himself as he licked his bottom lip, still feeling the sensation of your lips on his as he headed down the street to catch the bus. He was a few steps on from parting with you, that his phone rang in his pocket and he pulled it out to see who it was. Hinata was calling him. What do you want? Kagayama asked bluntly into the phone. How did it go? Hinata asked excitedly from the other end of the line. Fine, Kagayama said stiffly, not wanting to give too much away. It looked like it went well, from that kiss at the end that you just gave her, Hinata said. Yeah, well. Hey, wait. How do you know about it? Kagayama stopped and swung around, phone still pressed to his ear as his eyes fell on the hiding Hinata, who wasn't doing so good a job at hiding behind a bike stand. Hinata, you spying little... The rest of that afternoon was spent chasing a very apologetic Hinata, who had indeed been curiously spying on his teammate, glad that things had gone well. And there ends the short one-shot series of competitive. We now say hello to a continuation of heavy training. Yes, the Aizawa one-shot series is being dusted off, brought back from the dead and continued. I've taken the story in a slightly different direction than what it first started going on, but I'll explain why I've done that the way that I have when time comes. But until then, take care and I'll see you next Wednesday.